Hey, thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. To unlock the extended, ad-free, full episode, sign up at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Now on with the show. But then something happened. Something happened, and I want to get this title right.
It evolved.
Because it deserves to be...
Devolution.
The evolution came to me with laser-cut Vin Diesel ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those unfamiliar with what this is, please first describe it, and then also, what? This episode is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/thecreateunknown to get a free audiobook, and stay tuned for my book recommendation. That's audibletrial.com/thecreateunknown. Now on to the show. Hey, welcome to The Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor. And with me here on the TV wall
William Osman.
is William Osman. Yeah. How did you know? How did you know who you were? That's amazing.
It's a lot of practice.
Well, William, I'm so excited to have you on the show. You have been a highly requested guest.
Really?
By the way, yes.
Yeah. You're extremely popular. We have a problem because you're in the Discord server. Because at least once a day, somebody wants to tag you. And we have a self-appointed cop in Kevlas who reminds people not to tag the rich and famous. So
the tags are bad. I've muted everything because it's I still only know how Discord works to a 50% level. And so it's really difficult to tell when it's dinging off. I don't know what's happening. Is this a tag? Is this, a new, I don't know. So I've sort of just given up and muted everything.
But people bring you up so often, and they could be talking about virtually any subject. And somebody will be like, William Osman should drop that and see if it breaks.
That's totally true. And one of the things that I love about YouTube, maybe the thing I love the most, is just kind of the emergent creativity and weirdness that never would have existed without YouTube. And you are a shining example of that with your content, which I would love to know how you classify it. The best I could do is engineering comedy, but I don't know if that's very good or not.
Yeah, I think infotainment. What we learned, or what I've learned, is that people don't like education. They don't like to feel like they're being educated, and so you have to entertain them, and it's difficult to do both. And so that's why I don't know. It's a middle ground, right? Half education, half entertainment. Mostly entertainment. You try to education. I don't know. You don't get smart watching it, I don't think, but maybe you get inspired to, learn.
We were just talking about how important storytelling is. And in a way, that's really kind of what you're doing is you're embedding some educational concept that nobody wants to hear about on their own or on its own. And you're embedding that into something awesome that people do want to follow along with. Mm-hmm. In a weird way, it's that storytelling element that combines the two things.
Yeah, the story is really important. You got to make people feel like you're going on kind of a journey to accomplish a task. Because very rarely do people get satisfaction out of just a completed task. And to do that, it either has to be a spectacle where you've made some really cool thing. But the problem is making really cool things can be exhausting, and you don't always make a really cool thing. And a lot of times it can just not work. And then you have not a very cool thing. And so if you can tell a good story about something that's easier to accomplish, you can make it even more entertaining, if not, maybe just as entertaining, if not more entertaining. Does that make sense? It's you either can try really hard to make a really cool thing that people just naturally want to see, or you can tell a really good story about something that's a little bit easier to manage. We're really going down that route of how can we find something that's easier to accomplish but also is a good story that people want to watch.
So do you make, like, where do you start on a video idea? Like, here's my question. I'm going to be highly specific about this. Do you start thinking, I want to do something with electricity, or do you start at the story side, like, I want to shock my roommate to death?
I think we start like the foundation of everything. They're like, there's some form of purpose, and the purpose should be why I want to build the thing. But sometimes the purpose is just like, this is something I think is cool, and we'll come up with a purpose. Like, what is the motivation? Because if you have a strong motivation, everything just naturally happens. Nobody questions that. It's just like, oh, I get it. He's trying to do this thing. He's trying to accomplish this task or solve this problem. And so a lot of times it'll stem from a problem that I have, or like we'll make up a problem that I think is interesting. And a lot of the time it will kind of, I don't know, if a project is something I want to do, but I know people won't click on it, I won't do it. So it has to like fill a handful of requirements of being something that can be a good story. And being a good story usually includes that problem statement. What's the problem? And then how clickable is it?
Okay.
If everything lines up where it's like, okay, there's a good motivation, it feels like it can be a good story, it's not too difficult to accomplish, and I think it's a clickable topic. I mean, that's sort of like the perfect combination of everything.
What's the longest so far that you've spent on one video?
Like that I finished or that I haven't finished? Because there's definitely
How about both? I don't know.
So I started working on something that was a machine to kill flies. And that was, I think, a year ago, almost a little under a year ago, I started working on that. And it's a lot of programming, and it's just like something that consumed too much time. And then it started getting into winter, which it's like now we're getting into fall again. And so I like paused, I delayed, and decided to wait until summer, which is where like Google Trends shows like the highest search for how to kill flies or just flies in general. And that one's been postponed. Who knows now? It'll probably go to next year. I don't know. It's just a lot.
What are some of the elements of that? Like, is there a laser that detects
so there's a laser.
them? Okay.
Right. So like if you've ever like chased a fly, like trying to kill a fly, because like flies are, you know, they're not the worst thing environmentally. Like I don't know anything about this stuff, but like flies suck, right? And people try to kill them. They fly in your face, you know, they get into things and make your house gross. And like, they're not great inside. Like this, you know, the goal is not to kill all the flies. It's just to get rid of a pest inside of your house. And also science, like it's mostly for science, for fun. But that's the problem statement. It's like, you know, there's a fly infestation in my house. How do I get rid of these flies? I can't catch them. They're too damn fast. So I built a machine to do it instead. And that consists of, it's kind of inspired by the mosquito killing machine that cropped up like 10 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I totally remember that. That was specifically to deal with malaria, wasn't it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think mosquitoes in general, they cause a lot of problems. And so something to kill them, to keep them out of places where they shouldn't be without having to use like netting or like really, stuff that interferes with your kind of standard of living or whatever.
Chemicals, DDT, isn't that the one?
Yeah,
DDT is old.
That's old. Yeah. There was some video about how they get rid of mosquitoes in Disney World. That was really good. I'm sorry. Now I'm just thinking about mosquitoes.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing, and the same solution is use like a high-speed laser, like a galvo, which is like a magnetic coil or a coil of wire that you push the current through, and then that rotates this little thing. You know, you ever like see like the old like current meters on like a dashboard where they kind of like twitch and move around like something. So it's similar to that. It's identical to that. And so you can tell the galvos, an X and Y galvo, to like position to this angle because you, with a camera, detected a fly over here. It'll point the laser in that direction and then zap them.
How strong of a laser do you need to murder a fly?
I Googled it. So it's amazing what you can find on YouTube. So I was curious of the same thing. I'm like, do I just buy the biggest one I can get? Or do I go on Google and search for like killing bugs with lasers? So I found some YouTube videos. It's a little bit like, why did you film this and post it? But, it was good research. And I think like a couple 100 watts is probably funny. So I got like a 500 milliwatt laser diode.
So what happens if it misses? I mean, I'm not
burns the wall behind it.
It just burns the wall.
This, like, if you want me to clarify, this is not safe.
Okay.
In fact, I would say it's dangerous.
Would you wear like any sort of like reflective hazmat suit or something?
Just like eyewear. I bought a bunch of laser goggles.
Okay.
Yeah, the reflect, like, it'll burn you, but it's like you just got to watch out for your eyes.
You just searing your forehead is fine.
Yeah,
but
500 milliwatts is like a lot, but it's not like a lot.
So it's not going to burn a hole through your body.
No, it's not going to burn a hole through you. It's just going to it's going to hurt, and maybe a second-degree burn.
Okay.
I burned myself once with my big laser that I don't have anymore because it burned. But kind of full circle. But that was 80 watts.
So quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, it's like 5,000 times brighter than daylight.
Wow. And it burned you how? Because you just wanted to test what it would do to your arm? Or like what was the scenario?
It was a mistake. I actually have a lot of stories. I don't know if anyways.
What was that?
Lasers are scary. Because it's a lot of energy in a really small space, and it kind of will just go. And so I burned my finger because I was adjusting the mirrors on my laser cutter, because the laser tube sat in the back, and so you have to bounce the light to the cutting head, and you have to adjust the mirrors to make it so that it goes like everything's super parallel. And so I was adjusting, and then I would test fire the laser. I put a little piece of tape over it, and it would leave like a little brown mark, and I knew where it was hitting. That's how you tune it. And so I was like adjusting the mirrors, and then I would relax, like pull my hand away and then test fire and then do it over and over and over again until I could kind of guide the beam where I wanted it to be. And at one point when I was doing it over and over again, I sort of like didn't pull my hand out into a little test fire, and it immediately left like a mark on my thumb about the size of, I don't know, maybe like 4 millimeters, completely black.
Whoa. So you got charred. You got like fine-tuned charred.
It was a surface level 3rd degree burn. So it didn't burn like deep into it because I basically just wiped it off, but it basically completely charred a very, very small layer of skin.
Are you the most dangerous YouTuber? You think that's a fair?
No, I think that's Colin Furs. Or Styropyro. Styropyro is pretty bad. Well, like, Colin Furs does obviously dangerous things. Styropyro does like all of a sudden he just like collapses kind of dangerous things.
I'm not familiar with him. What is an example?
He does like laser stuff.
Okay.
He does. He's got a video that's like the world's most powerful laser. He's just like this insane guy in, I think, like Illinois or somewhere in the Midwest.
What's amazing to me is that we were just recently talking about parkour channels being demonetized because they're too dangerous.
Really?
Yeah, like a don't try this at home. You're encouraging kids to try to jump over picnic tables and they're going to get hurt. And even with the disclaimers and everything, these channels are getting demonetized.
Yeah, so you must have some worry that, burning your finger off with a laser or whatever, or shocking Michael Reeves by electrifying the carpet. I mean, you literally lost a sponsorship on that video, right? What happened with that?
Yeah, that was a different story. That was
okay.
Because we went to the store to buy this the electric fence.
Yeah,
it was the sponsorship was for like an online shopping thing, and they didn't like the fact that I went to a store, even though you have no idea where we went, and it was like super inconvenient because I had to go to 5 different stores, because that's like actually what happened. Like I just was going to different stores trying to find one of these. And they were like, "Oh, you went shopping in a different store. Like, that's not okay. You have to cut that out." And I couldn't, because like some of the funniest parts of the video like centered around going to the store. So they didn't care about the shock. And at the same time, like, you really have bought this like taser from you. I don't know. It's
you can go to like Tractor Supply and get an electric fencer.
That's basically what I did. It was like a farming.
Yeah, I mean, like. We were actually talking about getting shocked through electric fencers in the Discord the other day.
That hurts so bad. I mean, there also was there's no resistance. I mean, there is resistance, but normally you have that connected to like a long strand.
Yeah, it must have been.
And you get shocked somewhere down the line. It hurts so bad. kind of a no-no because like I think what would also happen is it would be somewhere down the line and it probably is like leaking places so you don't have as much current going through. Your voltage probably drops or, you know, it's a combination of everything. And you also have it going through like a larger portion of your body. Like it would go from your torso or your arm down through your feet into the ground. And so you've got like this larger area that the, you know, current has to travel through, which means more resistance, which means it's not going to hurt as much. And I just stuck it like from, it was like worst case scenario of like just right across the two things. That actually hurt. Like, I think the skin was a little bit burnt.
Did it make you feel tired after that happened? No. Were you fatigued?
I was very awake. Like I very much was, you know, like that was a mistake. I was climbing under,
the neighbors had cows and horses, you know, a long time ago. And I was climbing under the fence and I had binoculars around my neck and flipped them to the back so they wouldn't get in the mud. And the binoculars caught on the fence and, you know, sent the bolts through and hung there, you know, and so I'm like, hit.
It comes in like pulses. It's not continuous.
I don't think a lot of people know that it's not continuous the way like sticking a fork in an outlet is going to be continuous.
Right.
It's pulsing through every few seconds. But yeah, after I felt like I was so tired, like I just chugged a bottle of NyQuil. It just sapped all of my energy. I'm like, I gotta sleep.
That's crazy. Like forever sleep kind of thing.
Almost.
I did shock myself really badly once as a kid, and I kind of felt like that because it was like a neon sign transformer I was playing with.
As you do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you want to see crazy stuff, go look at Styropyro.
So we talked about lasers earlier, and that's because you started your channel with cutting things with lasers, right? And it seemed like really quickly, and I'd love to hear how you came to this conclusion or if it was just like the natural progression for you. But it seemed like you started off laser cutting kind of normal things. Like these are sort of like normal-ish videos that you would think to do with a laser cutter. You're like, hi, I'm William. I have a laser cutter. I'm going to laser cut my skateboard or my pumpkin. But then something happened. Something happened, and I want to get this title right.
It evolved.
Because it deserves to be...
Devolution.
The evolution came to me with laser cut Vin Diesel ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those unfamiliar with what this is, please first describe it, and then also, like, what?
So it's a statue made of ham and cheese of Vin Diesel that was laser cut. Am I clarifying?
No, that's just restating the title in different word order.
Okay, so we took ham and we took cheese and we cut it with a laser cutter and made a statue of Vin Diesel.
It really is self-explanatory, isn't it? But why? And because that was the first video where I feel like you were coming into your own, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I can give you some backstory. The channel originally was inspired by the likes of applied science, like Ben Krasnow, a guy on BattleBots who had a blog named Charles Guan, who's Overhaul is his robot, and just sort of consuming content that other people were making from like a blog like Charles or like video science like applied science. And I wanted to make something that was more serious to promote myself to employers. Like, here's my portfolio. I have a blog, a website. I can document things. I can take pictures. Like, I can make stuff look good. And here's the stuff I've made. And so the videos came after the blog. The blog was just, myname.com. And then I transitioned into making some sort of like video segments of what I was doing to help sort of showcase the projects. And I don't know, I just like be more professional, I guess. But I had been doing YouTube since high school. I think that may have been 5-6 years after graduating high school. And I had a channel where we made sort of more comedy sketches and just like really stupid videos with the like goal of being entertaining and funny. So the sciencey stuff started as like more professional and more serious. And it slowly transitioned into some of the more silly, fun chaos that we had done early in our like unsuccessful YouTube careers. So I don't know. I mean, does that sort of make any sense? Is it like it started off as being more professional because it was literally for the purpose of getting a job, and then it, downgraded, it devolved into more silly science of like what's entertaining, like what's insane, what's something that no one's ever seen before. And that was a suggestion. Like somebody suggested that. I'm like, this is an insane idea. We should do it. We're blaming them. Like nobody can get mad at us for this dumb idea or wasting food because this person right here told us to do it.
Which is a very that's a legal defense that will hold up in court. Somebody said, this guy told me to in the comments of YouTube. So like I am innocent, judge.
Correct.
But I love how you married the serious. You were doing something really serious, and then you were doing something really silly, and then you combine those two things into something that was half really serious and half really silly. And guess what? That was the magic formula. And how often is that the case?
I don't know. I mean, anytime you take someone who's good at something and show them doing it in a fun, silly, entertaining way, like I think people really enjoy that.
I mean, you talk about how often is that the case? We've talked about what you did. You did goofy comedy videos, animations, things like that for a long time. When Vsauce started with, science news, things like that, you evolved to a point where you pull Yoda out in a video and he's spazzing out and going crazy and whatever. It's fun and goofy for, 15 seconds or something. But you don't have science lectures. You've taken the hard science and then mixed it with entertainment. And I wonder how many people have combined two things on YouTube without even realizing that they've finally put two things together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, it's sort of the realization, like they do a thing that catches attention and then they sort of iterate until they get to a point where they're doing something well and in an entertaining fashion.
Did any of that work with employers and all of that? How did this work professionally, since that was the original intention?
I was working at the time, like early on, part-time with a company that I had been working with before. And so it was a very laid back company too, where everyone sort of appreciated the kind of stuff I was doing. So there were no problems there. I could see some employers potentially like that was a turnoff for them, as the YouTube stuff and just sort of the silliness of it would be a turnoff. But I think that's also the kind of employer that you probably wouldn't want to work with.
I have a feeling that the guy who's making these videos would want to be in a place where they would respect those videos.
Mm.
And if it was really serious, you'd want that as well, to value that content.
And it's like anyone who's, like serious or sort of knows their salt will realize like, oh, cool. Like you're creative, you're making a thing, you've attracted an audience. Like that's something special. Like not a lot of people can do that. And it's like, I know because I made videos, I made content and nobody watched it. Like it's really difficult to get people to watch your stuff. And if somebody is like, can't recognize that or can't see that, then it's like, you probably don't want to work for them anyways. And so it never really was a problem. I hate dressing up too. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like a place that requires you to dress really fancy, unless you're like customer facing or something. Like you probably don't want to work there, right? Like indicates like other cultural aspects of that job where it's like, if you have to show up in a suit and a tie every day, but you just sit in a cubicle, it's like, wait a minute. Like that's kind of a red flag to me. It's like, it's just like, I don't know, maybe I'm just lazy, but
I don't think so. I think that we find that a lot with the YouTubers that we've talked to. I mean, that was certainly the case for me. I had one job that I was ostensibly in a cubicle for, and by lunch on day one, I wanted to quit. By lunch on day one, I was done. I was like three hours into my new career, and I was like, I have to leave immediately. I made it the rest of the week. I made it till Friday before I mutually parted ways
2-week notice
with my. It was funny because I went to like essentially quit, and my boss was essentially like, yeah. This is not working out for either of us. Trust me.
The old quit fire, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that happen once. I gave my 2 weeks notice and they fired me a week later.
What?
That doesn't even make sense.
No, they were just, I'd been there for like a couple of years too. That was very frustrating because that was me sort of like doing what's decent. And I was still working, like I was still doing an actual job, but they were just being like spiteful.
Well, you don't have to deal with that anymore when you're,
no,
dropping eggs off of things and
right. I have different problems now, like where we have enough eggs for this video.
When did that actually start for you? Because I
have a whiteboard somewhere. I think it's upstairs. It's titled at the top of the whiteboard. It says low effort videos.
And was egg drop at the top of the list?
Egg drop was at the top of the list because we, like, it's a lot easier to watch a video than it is to make a video, as I think you probably know.
Yes.
A lot of people, I think, probably don't know that or have heard it but don't understand it, like what that actually means. And so trying to make more content, if you have like a certain caliber of content, becomes just impossible. And then what I realized was happening was, like I'm supposed to be having fun doing this, but it came to a point where it was more about like, oh God, I have to edit this. Or, oh God, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And that's not a good place to be, where the videos being entertaining rely on you having fun, but you're trying to do too much. And so you're no longer having fun. And so what would happen is I would just start missing. I would like weeks, wouldn't post, or I just get demotivated to work on stuff. And, or just sort of stuck at like a point of the video making process that is less fun than the other parts. And so I'd been thinking for a while, like, what can I do to try to help buffer the normal video schedule? Like if that way I can spend 2 weeks working on something and have like a video that takes a couple of days to finish, or like a day and a day to film and edit, that can sort of fill the gap that is, still good, but doesn't, like burden me or make me, like it keeps me from burning out basically. And that was sort of the first in some of those experiments of like what could be like a lower effort video to help buffer some of the bigger videos out.
What I love about the egg drop is so not only does it accomplish that, it allows you to spend more time on other videos while also, freeing you up to have an upload in the meantime. It also is a great way to naturally involve a collaboration, which I find really, really, really hard to do.
Collaborations suck. Collaborations are bad. They always perform bad. And that surprised me early on because I thought, you always see people collaborating. It's like, oh yeah, the audiences cross over and, subscribers go from one to the other. And we realized really quickly that a lot of the collaborations we did translated to almost nothing. Like barely any crossover. And so especially between engineering channels too. So if you take one science channel and mix them with another science channel, what you realize is it's almost impossible to make two unique videos. And that just ends up making like you sort of saturate, like a little micro saturation of like, oh, the same thing twice. Otherwise you have to spend like 3-4 days working on two different projects. And it's not like you can just spend 6 hours with somebody and get a video out of it. And that's what a lot of collaborations turned into that I had seen on YouTube prior, was like, oh, here's this person and this person. We're in the same room together. Let's spend 3 hours on your video and 3 hours on my video. And you just ended up with two crappy videos. And if you put the people, you wouldn't watch either of the videos. And so the egg drop has sort of like facilitated this insane like collaboration experience for me because it's so different than what we've like done before. Because you can have like a really organic, fun video that doesn't like, I don't know, you don't have to do anything intensive. You just can like, it works really well. It's really easy to film. It's really easy to edit. Like, and they're performing insanely well, which boggles my mind. I don't know. I'm like, it kind of makes me want to avoid more traditional collaborations and kind of just limit it to just the egg drops.
In the very first episode that we launched, it was with Destin Sandlin, Smarter Every Day. We talked about the Science Olympiad, and he participated in that years ago. I did, and I was so disappointed because they did the egg drop in New York State for years and years. It was a staple, and like all the science classes did it for fun, and they also had, that competition. And the moment I got to be able to finally participate, the state dumped the event.
Why did they get rid of it?
They drop ones that have been around for a while, especially if they can't. if they can't
drop them.
Yeah, the egg drop.
Yeah, I would say there's something here. You've got something.
Yeah, they couldn't.
They dropped the egg drop.
Yeah.
There wasn't like some coalition of chicken farmers that they angered that no longer were supplying the eggs.
It was pre-internet. How could they organize?
I don't know. Just coming up with
the chicken farmers are like notorious for not being nice to the chickens. Like they should just care about more money, selling more eggs. They don't care what happens to them.
We should drop the egg farmers.
Yeah. We always joke about like, what if we just put the egg in your mouth and jump off the
That'll be the final episode.
Yeah, the final episode.
That's terrible.
I have a feeling it would still break.
It's you or the egg or both.
The
Everything. The
whole thing, yeah.
Bones, shells.
Yeah, as your jaw's like getting ripped off by the concrete, just gonna shear right through.
All the yolks are gonna come out.
Yeah.
So, the point of me saying that was that I get to see these crazy egg drop videos, and it's like reliving, living the childhood I never got to have.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know that millipedes only have like 750 legs? 1,000. It's like the person who named the millipede was just guessing. They were like, hey Frank, look at this thing. Look at how many legs it has. How many think it has? Oh, it's got to be like 1,000. Are you sure? Because we're gonna name it that, like 1,000 legs. Like millipede, like millipede. Yeah. I counted. I promise. It's like 1,000 legs. Freakonomics is a book that you can listen to. You know, Matt, he mentioned it several podcasts ago. But it's a great book because it's really an approachable way of getting into economics and kind of how to see the world differently. I mean, if you like Vsauce 2, you would definitely like Freakonomics, I think. And you can listen to it by going to audibletrial.com/thecreateunknown. You'll help support this podcast, and you'll also help support your brain and kind of seeing the world through interesting data. Do you like data? I like data, not just the guy from the kid from the Goonies, although I love data from the Goonies, but data as like a way of measuring things is great. And if you like that, you want to go to audibletrial.com/thecreateunknown, get Freakonomics. Listen to it. You'll learn a thing or two or 1,000. William, about your videos, that I have to ask you is to do with the McDonald's ice cream.
Yeah.
Why do you keep going to McDonald's to get ice cream? Where did that come from? Is it just a social experiment to see why they're...
Yeah, I kind of just want to see. It's sort of a meme, but at the same time, like it's not a meme because half of the time the machines aren't working.
What do you think the actual percentage is now that you've collected a fair amount of data here?
Yeah, like how many times have you gone?
Like 25% of the time, maybe.
Okay.
I just went to one in Big Bear and I was like, how often does your ice cream machine break? And the guy is like, it's never broke.
Do you believe it?
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, why would he lie to me?
Well, why does he want to talk about his broken ass machine?
Maybe they have some like super maintenance ice cream man that works in Big Bear.
I think I know what the problem is. I have this plan to like, I don't know if I'm ever going to do this. I also don't want to like spoil it, but I thought about getting a job at McDonald's to figure out why the ice cream machine is broken. Because when I at them, I messaged them and they messaged me back and they said something along the lines of, it's like, that's for crew members only. And so the first thing in my head is like a narrator saying, so I knew, like, they told me what I had to do, become a crew member. And then, like the path was clear. And try to like have a firsthand experience. Because I have a hypothesis, and that is the employees are lazy and they don't initiate the maintenance cycle for the machine. So I downloaded the manual for the ice cream machine. And it's supposed to like self-sterilize once every 14 days or something. And then, and then you, it's supposed to like self-sterilize once every 14 days or something. And then you, it's supposed to like self-sterilize once every 14 days or something. And then you, it's supposed to like self-sterilize once every 14 days or something. or over I don't really know. But if it's gone over a certain time, it'll do like a lockout and it won't let you use the machine until it has been cleaned.
Oh, to prevent people from getting sick.
Yes.
So you think that they've waited so long that it locks up and they just don't bother cleaning?
They're supposed to do it at night.
Okay.
But it's self-cleaning, so it's just like flipping a switch?
It's self-sterilizing, but I think they still have to clean it. And so this is why I have to become a crew member, is to get the full story.
There's got to be somebody listening that has the full story, right?
Well, yeah, but it's not, I got to get a job there.
It seems like you would be able to get a used one, so you could take this thing open.
I potentially have to spend like $1,000.
Is that how much you think it would be?
Yeah, I looked on Craigslist and eBay.
Just make it a Patreon goal.
We thought about leaving it, like once we buy it, we just set it up in the house.
Yeah. Hey, an ice cream machine's an ice cream machine.
Right. But then it's like, I mean, you can turn it on when you have a party or something, but other than that, and then it also needed like 220, 240 or whatever the hell.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why 220, 240, like which one is it?
I don't know. Just get rid of your washing machine and replace it with the ice cream machine.
I think it would be 220, wouldn't it be?
What is it?
220.
Well, I think they call it different things, but it's actually the same thing.
They probably do that so it's compatible globally, right? And then can drip down.
Yeah, I think there's like a range too. Like it can be between different things. Like 110, you also hear is like 120. Mm-hmm. But so we would have to like run an extension cord from the garage, which we could totally do, because if you're not going to use it all the time, you could definitely run an extension cord.
Well, I, for one, vote that this happens.
Yeah, no, this has to happen.
100% vote that this happens. I mean, either get the job at McDonald's, which I fully endorse.
I was looking. Let's see this. I wonder where the McDonald's and McDonald's. I really want to do that. I just think that'd be fun. Because everyone loves to smack talk, getting a job at fast food, like you're a loser if you work at McDonald's. But you know what? I bet you it actually sucks. I bet you it's a hard job.
I've known a couple people who work there. One guy is doing quite well on maintenance on some pretty heavy stuff in the Marines. Another one is he was in the engineering school at Boston U and has worked at Intel for like 15 years. He's killing it. The other girl was in Israel, and she went on to study some science thing. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a pipeline between technical stuff, engineering, all of that. There's a McDonald's to like STEM pipeline that nobody knows about.
I believe it. Yeah, I mean, a job's a job. I mean, I was a dishwasher. I like that job. You just wash dishes all day, make sure that they're clean.
I think it's cool. It's just like an introductory job. Like it's a really easy or relatively easy job to get without any experience.
I think a lot of kids dream of things like, I want to be a spy, like James Bond level, that's a different generation, but they want to work their way into some like nuclear secrets level thing. And we're watching you in real time here, Googling so that you can sneak your way into McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome.
You think they would figure it out? You think, like, I'm a little worried. They probably don't do any background research though. Like, I doubt they even Google you. I'll probably be fine.
If just use your middle name.
Somebody there, what if somebody there like recognizes you during the process? So they're not going to be suspicious.
Are you open to shaving?
Yeah, I could do that. I thought about shaving the top of my head off too. That would be pretty fun. Like a disguise, so just like a Friar Tut kind of.
Like George Costanza.
Yeah, I need it, but I needed like a secret identity. Just completely like demolish my hair.
What was George Costanza's moniker? Fake Art Vandelay.
Yeah.
Remember? Was it? He had his own disguised name. I think it was Art Vandelay. He was an architect. That's just Seinfeld stuff. But when you're talking about undercover stuff, I was wondering how you capture that footage. Because I'm watching your stuff and you have this camera that's pointed up at you as if it's like in a belt or something. Like, what is that camera? Is it GoPro, I'm assuming?
Oh, on right now?
No. For instance, when you were purchasing the electric fence or whatever.
Oh, that's my phone. So I have the Samsung S10e. I got the smallest one. And it has this insane wide angle camera on it that you can just like see, I don't know how I demonstrate this. I'm going to go to the normal. I'm going to go to, wait, is that the wide? Oh yeah, wait, give me 1 second. That's like the normal camera, and you can switch to wide angle.
Okay.
Whoa.
So you can get a lot more in there.
I mean, it's like right up to my face. And so if you just sort of hold it, like down low, you can basically get everything.
Wow.
So I just like, because then it's also like I threw it on the counter. Like I actually think this is a brilliant strategy, because you just have your phone casually. It's recording like when you're in the checkout. You just throw it on the counter, and then you can get the audio or sort of like, obscured video of what you're doing. I mean, it's weird to film people, but
No, that's brilliant, because I'm sitting there watching this video thinking, how did he do this? Because I did a video about 2 years ago now where I attached, I wanted to do a shot where I walked around a grocery store with a camera on my forehead. I'm like, I don't know how to do this without looking like a creep.
Yeah, it draws a ton of attention. So like you could just stick a phone in your pocket.
I could just hold it and pretend I was like looking at my phone. Well, let me tell you what I did, because it was really horrifying and creepy. And I subsequently just kind of sprinted through the store before anybody knew what was going on. So I got a GoPro. I got the head strap. So I'm like wearing the GoPro like a hat. Then I got like a really large like beanie, like knit cap. And I cut a hole around the lens of the GoPro, like in my forehead, and then like put the hat down like this. So, but it was really obvious. Like there's like a GoPro sticking out. It was like this episode of The Simpsons where like Homer is trying to spy on Apu or something. He's wearing like an oversized cowboy hat that has a camera sticking out of it. That was essentially my solution 2 years ago. So
I remember so distinctly you telling me about that setup, and you're describing the thing, and I'm like, part of me wants to call the police, and then the other part of me just realized why some people argue against gender neutral bathrooms.
It reminds me of this thing that I made.
Oh, the squirrel car.
Yeah.
Right?
We just like, you cut a big hole in it like that, and you're just walking around.
Yeah. Just a big hole right in my center of my forehead with a lens sticking out of it. And I just like sprinted through the supermarket, and so quickly that like, if anybody had seen it, I was already gone.
What were you doing with the footage? What did you need it for?
Oh,
was that the Lambrains thing?
No. I made this video called Where Am I? And it was just kind of this idea that I had where I don't know how to describe it other than I wanted to make sort of a pseudo poetic, I guess, video about like consciousness and like where you are in your head, like where you are, like your consciousness, your thoughts, like where they exist.
So this is giving the bird's eye view.
Why didn't you bring a camera into the store?
Why didn't I bring a camera into the store?
Why don't you just like carry the GoPro by hand into the store?
Well, because I wanted it to be like, the whole point was that it was like seeing out through my eyes. So I wanted it to be there.
Even if you wore like a head strap, what are they going to do? Shoot you?
Well, I did. I just covered it in a beanie and cut a hole through it.
Because it's embarrassing.
Well, because I think somebody definitely would have stopped me like right away.
They never stop you.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they just, like, if they're
nobody
uncomfortable,
ever says anything?
Hope that you'll leave?
No one says anything. Like very rarely. Like we were in a Target with like a big camera filming for you've seen the swearing Roomba.
Mm-hmm.
And all they did was just give us really dirty looks.
The employees or customers or both?
I think it was the manager. I mean, the customers didn't care.
With the microwave though, I know that.
Oh, they kicked us out.
Yeah, Michael kicked they came. We
were like setting up. We were like setting up shop in front of their store,
and it also looked like an explosive device.
Yes.
Yes, I think that was part of the problem too.
Yes.
Wait, so for those unfamiliar, why don't you explain a little bit more about that video? The microwave.
Oh, the microwave. So we wanted to, you make a thing that you cook food with by screaming at it, and then you got to have people use it. And so it's like, where do you find people? I don't know, Target. Target. And we set it up in front of Target, and then they kicked us out of Target.
Yes, but let's start back at you make a thing that cooks food by screaming at it.
Yes.
Why? Where did that come from?
I think this was a suggestion for Michael. I think someone suggested it to him.
That came out of his comments, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this segues into one of my favorite parts of VidCon, which was watching you guys zip around with this device. So
the wheelchair.
Yeah, you do the panel, which go watch the video on this because you'll get to see the whole room in action activating this microwave at VidCon. But after that, you've got the microwave, which again has all these wires and things coming out of the top. I don't even know how you got it past VidCon security in the first place. How did that happen?
So there's, I feel like I'm about, yeah, why not? Okay, here's, if you can get it into the shuttle, that's it.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, no one says anything. Like, no one gives a crap.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the yellow badge. Like, they just, everyone, like half the security that's working there, it's their first day. I mean, it's any event. Like, they just hire people. Like, nobody knows all the rules.
And I think there's an implicit trust, too, that if somebody is given full access, whatever they've got has a purpose and they can be trusted.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. So it's big, it's heavy because it's a microwave.
I think actually Michael brought it in a cardboard box because we were worried about it.
It was in a cardboard box. At the point I saw it, it was after you guys had done it. So the top of the box was open and you were hauling this in a little trailer attached to an electric wheelchair. But wait, there's more. That isn't a normal electric wheelchair because you've got a remote control that controls that wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was okay. So I think I spent on that whole project, like it's a really robust motor driver that the BattleBots guy Charles makes called Rage Bridge. It's way overkill for this, but it's really easy to use. It's really robust, and it's like $200. The wheelchair I paid like $150 for. I think that whole chair cost me like $350, and I've used it for so much stuff, and it just like keeps on going and going and going. Like it's indestructible.
Well, we were in front of one of the lounges that oddly Full Access didn't have access to. You know the one that took the black band?
That was the YouTube lounge.
Yeah. Yes, the YouTube lounge.
Yeah, you had that. I didn't.
They sucked. I was like, I tried to get like, that was stupid. I complained to them about that. And the woman was like, well, I set this up. Anyways, I feel like I'm whining about some.
Well, what happens is you and Michael was there and iDubbbz was there and you're zipping this thing around. Your caretaker is riding in the chair.
Yeah.
And there were maybe like 3 security that were at the front of this lounge thing.
I think it was iDubbbz where we just trained into it, where it's like he didn't have a band.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's like I had a band, he didn't have a band, which is stupid.
It's like, oh, don't go in, but hang out in front of it.
Yeah, and they just looked at us. They didn't know what to do because I was sitting in the front of the wheel, like in the chair of the wheelchair, and he was sitting in the little bike kiddie trailer behind it. I mean, like, what are they gonna do? Like, they're like, I think we broke them.
Well, you're zipping this thing around and it's a big area there too. It's probably like 60 feet wide. The hallway is at that point, and it goes as far as you can see both ways. So there's a big runway. It was between panels, so it was pretty empty, and you're just touring around. You're looking down at the thing, and it's zipping all the way around. Sometimes it gets close to the security. Sometimes it doesn't. It kind of gets close to some other people. And I start to notice that security appears. Like all of a sudden there are like 4 or 5 guys and they're just standing there. And then a few minutes later, there are like 6 or 7. And at a certain point, I'm standing next to iDubbbz and I'm like, Yeah, there are like a dozen security guys here. And when we got here, there were 3. But you hadn't technically done anything wrong.
So how did it end?
No, nothing. No one
Nothing
ever
happened?
said anything to us. No, I think they were probably just bored, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
They were
But
just
swarmed.
watching.
They were
They
waiting.
were just watching.
Yeah.
But to contextualize this a little bit for those who haven't gone to VidCon, let me explain that nobody brings anything into VidCon. You don't bring so much as a backpack or a purse. I remember seeing a couple of people with like cats and dogs. And the reason that they were allowed to have cats and dogs is those cats and dogs were famous. I swear.
Like they had channels?
They had like Instagram followings of like 1 million followers, right? They were like famous cats and dogs. So
Did you see what we brought last year? It's even worse.
No, what was that?
Oh, a shopping cart, electrified shopping cart.
Into
Motorized
VidCon?
Yeah, we had a motorized shopping cart in the VidCon convention hall.
How did we not see this?
And how did you get that in?
The same way they had to like fold seats down in the shuttle. Like we're like, oh, we got to get this to a panel, and they folded all the seats down in a shuttle.
They're like bending over backwards to accommodate your ridiculous ideas.
Yeah, and then Hank Green drove it and smashed himself in the nuts on accident.
Well, it was awesome to see you driving this thing around as if nobody was there. The way I imagine, like, a kid goes to a public park to, like, fly a kite. It doesn't, by default, like, nobody should be around, so it's not going to get tangled, whatever. It was like that level of isolation with you. And then your caretaker was, like, on the phone, having conversations, not knowing what direction this chair is going to go because it's being controlled remotely. And it was like everybody is having the most normal day in the world. And security was just puzzled. They were so intent on watching because they didn't know what was going on. Maybe something weird's going to happen, but probably not. Everybody's behaving. It was just the best confusion I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
How much more of that happens now that you're living with Michael Reeves, who is, if anyone's unfamiliar with him, also has a YouTube channel where he builds things. He builds things that you're just going to have to kind of investigate, I think, on your own. But does that amplify your own creations? Does it amplify his creations living with you? What is that dynamic like?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like feedback where we'll use each other for the application portion where it's like, okay, what does this thing do? Let's test it out. And you kind of get this like feedback loop where it's like you see him do something and then like I'll do something and then like it's just like back and forth. Like he used some of the software I had written for the fly killing machine and for the salad or the machine that removes tomatoes from salads. And so it's like there's a lot of sort of crossover that you wouldn't see. But it's just chaos in general.
Is there any specific story to illustrate that chaos that you're willing to share, or?
I think that maybe the best one is the taser carpet where we electrified the carpet because it was inspired by like an actual problem, which was Michael running around stomping on the floor, and that was like keeping me up at night because his sleep schedule is really bad. Like European time bad. Like he's living in Europe, but physically in the United States.
Is there a reason for that? Or is he just one of those guys that has that kind of schedule?
He just is on that schedule and he just like, he's better at night. And so he just, ends up working at night and then he literally goes to bed at 10 a.m. and then wakes up at like 6 p.m. And so stomping around was like a actual problem. And so that was kind of inspired by that. I mean, the reality of it is, like we settle problems like real people too. The video kind of was just like inspired by it. Because it was an idea. Like, what if I electrify the carpet? Like, that's where the idea came from.
Well, I since we're on this already, I'm pulling out my phone and doing this because I wanted to relay the question exactly right. which is how chaotic is it living with Michael Reeves, and how often are you injured by his schemes?
On it, like I probably see him like an hour a day because he like his schedule barely crossovers and he just like locks himself in his room. So honestly, not very much.
Well, we're gonna have to get him on the show and then ask him the same question.
You want to record at like 6 like 4 in the morning?
4 in the
morning. We need to make sure that the stories match up, though.
That's what I was gonna get at.
It's not that we don't trust you.
Yeah.
We need it's more like a trust but verify situation.
Right.
We just want to make sure.
and yeah, watching Michael in that same wheelchair microwave thing was doubly weird because at some point he disappeared for like half an hour. He was just gone. How do you leave people with this thing that looks like a bomb and don't tell anybody where you're going?
And make it my problem. Yeah, he's got a squirrel brain, the brain of a squirrel.
So what are your future plans long term for the channel? And one of the things that I know that we have a mutual interest in talking about and developing is t-shirts. Like before we started recording this episode, we were talking a little bit about merch and t-shirts and kind of the process there, which I mean, Matt, you've outlined it before. If you want to do it quickly and easily, you can. There are a million ways to do it quickly and easily.
Yep.
If you want to do it in a way that's more premium and tailored, I guess, to maybe your brand's expectations.
Yeah, customized to a level of it's just beyond like slapping something on a shirt. It gets hard fast.
It gets hard. Really, it becomes prohibitive fast too.
You have to like ride someone. So you have to like, even if you send it to a company, you still have to like be on top of it. And once they print the shirt, it's like, that's it. And they don't give you one. It's not like you can get one made. I mean, you can, but it's expensive. Yeah. So it's like, I think I spent like with the have you seen our bread cat shirts?
Yeah.
The inbred cat. So that's like a horrible, horrible design because it's like a colored, like basically like an image. Mm-hmm. And we tried early on to like vectorize it. We're like, how can we make this shirt like easy to print with like a screen printing process by simplifying the colors or, so you don't have to do like dithering. Because when you do dithering or too much dithering, it just starts to look like grainy, like not a good look. And that's what like digital printing does. So if you see some of the like digital printed stuff, you get like just a gross like coarseness to it. And I think I spent like over $2,000. I mean, it was like stupid trying to get this shirt printed. I printed it at 3 different places. The first one did okay, but the design was really thick. The second place, they're like, oh, we can make it thinner than that. But the t-shirt just like turned out like total shit. I'm still kind of salty about that because the shirts were actually bad. I should have probably. But what do? You say, oh, here, this $800 worth of merchandise or is like trash. Like you got to redo it for me. Like I don't understand. Like what do you do? Because that's when you do a whole run, like that's a lot. And the third time we did it was through the company that DFTBA uses, and they did a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it's the best I think of the 3. And it's frustrating because it's like I'm still like not quite happy with it, but I don't know if it can get any better unless I talk to someone who really knows what they're doing.
Well, that's what I was wondering. What's the next step then? You've gone through this process. You're not happy with it after 3 tries. What would you do next time?
I am happy with it, but what I want to do is explore sort of like other processes for making. So like there are digital printers and direct garment printers that do a good job, but the problem is like nobody tells you what printer they have. And so you'd have to call and ask like, what printer do you have? Like, can you show me pictures of some of the recent prints? Because if you don't know what printer they have or what their process looks like the direct-to-garment printing is wildly different. I mean, I think the very, very, very first batch of those shirts that we got back, we did through like custom ink or the one with the squid logo. And the design was literally peeling off the shirt.
Wow. I don't think people appreciate how many little details go into getting the merch that you want. Like you're talking about getting the printer, if it's a direct to garment setup,
right?
You got to know the details, like what printer are you using? Sometimes you'll get kind of vaguish information on the shirt model that's being printed on. It'll tell you something like tri-blend, but maybe this company makes two, and one of them is 4.2 ounces in weight and the other is 3.7. And that doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you have them in your hand, they feel different. And maybe you like one and don't like another. So there are like 15 different details that you have to follow up. There's not a lot of standardization from place to place, so you never know. You got to run down the checklist each time. It's like doing blood work, like at the doctor, like annual blood work on each printer. It's nuts.
And if you do it online, it's even worse. If you use like a service like Teespring or something, if you do a single batch, it'll probably come out fine depending on what you're printing. But if you're doing something that's direct to garment, like you'll probably do different things one time as opposed to the next, because they're contracting with like different print shops. And you might get one here and then one over here and one here, and they all have different printers.
And I would love to know, and maybe, in the Discord or in the comments to this video, some people will chime in with their experience, but I would love to hear from the audience on this. Like, is it something that like we are being hyper precious and paranoid about, like making the best thing? Do people care? Like, that's really what I would love to crowdsource opinions on shirts, because I really care. Like if I have a shirt that's really soft, that isn't cracked after the first time it goes through the wash, I'm really happy with that. If I get a shirt that when I open up the bag and it smells like vinegar, like what is that?
That's a printing process. Like that's like an on-demand printing process. But like this is my thought is, if somebody buys merch, you want it to be a quality where they would buy it again.
That's a decent standard. That number one, you're happy with that purchase, and number two, the next time there's something that comes out, that person would want to buy it.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's what, Ela does really well with Teddy Fresh, is it's just like, it's, like it's going to be good. Like, this print is awesome. I have a handful of their stuff. Like it feels like a legitimate brand of clothes. It doesn't feel like something that was just ejected out some like mass print shop that automates everything. Like it feels like someone cared about this. And I think that's the goal, is like make it feel like you cared about the thing that was made. The quality is up to par with like what makes you happy. Because otherwise you're devaluing, like you're making, it sounds stupid, but if somebody spends $25 on a shirt and they feel like, wow, like the design is peeling off or it cracked immediately, like, I don't know if that was worth $25.
Plus shipping. It ends up being $30. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Plus shipping. And I've seen like, there's a lot of shirts that are probably with shipping over 30, like 32, 33, $35. Like,
I think that's especially important too for people who are on YouTube, because there's a different relationship with the person buying it. Like you actually have a relationship with that member of your audience in a way that like I don't have a relationship with TJ Maxx if I buy a shirt off the rack there. Like if that shirt goes sour, I wash it a couple times and it peels, like I'm disappointed, but I don't feel like TJ Maxx is out to fleece me. I'm just like, oh, that one was a bummer. But if somebody sells merch that doesn't hold up or it disappoints or something like that, like you do feel like, well, hey, great, William just made $9 off me, and I've got something that I hate. Like I don't think that YouTubers can afford to do that the way other people can.
I don't think so.
And I think of band merch because I buy a lot of. My wife and I go to a lot of metal shows. We always want to leave with something just to remember the show by. So I got this hat recently. My wife got a shirt. And there are a lot of metal bands that do this really, really well. Gojira, all the Gojira shirts that I have are awesome shirts. Behemoth is another band that everything that they make is so high quality that I feel like DMing them and being like, how are you doing this so well? Like, how are you guys making these like really slim fit, light, nice material, but like really durable, nice prints, because I haven't seen YouTubers been able, like, we don't have access to that, and I don't know.
Yeah, you got to find a place that, you know, like cares. Like, I know I was talking to Ian Idubbbs about some of his merch, and he's sort of had like some wildly drastic experiences because of, you know, he's just a significantly bigger channel. But he worked with a shop in Los Angeles that I think did a really good job, where they were like working with him to make sure it came out. And I think like there's some discharge prints where they have a special ink that like bleaches and then re-dyes all in the same step. Yeah. And it's like, you know, if you have someone who does all these things, who like runs the shop, who does a good job, who wants to make the customers happy, you know, like they're going to help you with this. And I think it's all that you need to do is you need to find the right place to do it. And like what I've experienced or what I've seen, not from my own merch, but from other people's, is if you go with one of the like merch companies that a lot of YouTubers do, they don't care. Mm-hmm. They don't care. And unless you're making them a ton of money, they really don't. Like there's just,
it's sad.
Well, if you think about too, the numbers that have to happen for a company to care, like it sucks that they don't, but at the same time, the margins on shirts that aren't selling in tremendous volume is really low. So let's say, you know, they could be, if you moved 100 shirts with a certain place, that might be like $300 of profit to them. And they're going to give you that level of attention because they honestly can't afford to go too much more than that.
Right.
You know, so I kind of,
but they also, you know, depending on who they're working with, like a lot of people are growing too. Like they're going to, you know, they'll be bigger one day. They'll be able to sell more merchandise. Like you probably want to, I don't know.
You'd think that somebody would jump in and say, yeah, sure, it's 50 shirts today. But in 3 months, it's going to be 100. And in 6, it's going to be 250. And in a year, it's going to be 500. And so I want to invest in you, build a relationship with you that'll pay off down the line. I mean, that's a risk too, though. Like, I mean, like a lot of the stuff with YouTube, everything is a second job. Like everything becomes its own like burden where, like, cool, you got to make the videos. You got to, like, you know, produce the videos and edit the videos. And, oh, now I got to do my taxes. Like, oh, that's another thing I got to figure out how to do. Or I want to do this. I got to figure out how to do that. I want an LLC. I got to figure out how to do that. Like, and then it's like, oh, merchandise. That's a whole job. I mean, look at Teddy Fresh. Like that's what they're doing. Like there's a team of people that work on this stuff full time. Well, I know very little about it, but like there's a lot of people who care about it and are like constantly working on it. If you're trying to do like just, you know, like the basic merch where you slap a logo on it and ship it out, like it's very difficult to get to that high quality unless you're spending a ton of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a very difficult problem to solve. And if you're not spending a ton of time on it, then you have to you know, if you let a company do it, then it's just like their motivations are elsewhere, unless you're like huge, where they can put a bunch of time into like doing it. Because, you know, even if a merch company puts a ton of time into developing like a merch line for you, then you don't push it hard enough. Like, oh, I promoted it once or twice. Like then it's such a complicated thing where it depends on everything. Like you need to be doing a good job content wise to promote the merchandise if you're going to put a ton of time and energy into developing the merchandise. Like it's tough.
I'm so glad that you went down and that we went through all of these little details about just a t-shirt too. So by the way, this is a completely different game if you're looking at making something other than a t-shirt. Like this is one single piece of merchandise. If you're looking at something else, then all of a sudden maybe you're not dealing with inks and fabric anymore. Maybe you're dealing with, you know, I don't know, just anything that isn't
hats
clothing.
And embroidery.
Well, exactly. Even when you go to hats, you know what that's like.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a few cool things, you have a lot to figure out. And any type of item, like product like this, that is such a thin slice of the overall stuff that you do as a YouTuber. And that one little thin slice is like endlessly complex.
Yeah.
And as we talk to more people, like the one thing that I really want out of kind of somebody listening to the podcast for, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes is to develop an appreciation for the sheer amount of stuff that has to get done right, and hopefully has to get done at like an exceptional level that will make viewers really happy, whether it's buying another thing or watching every one of your videos. Like this is insanely complex. It never stops. It never will. It'll stop when that final egg drop happens. That's the only time.
There's a lot. There's so many things. Like it's multiple hats, multiple businesses. We've talked to people about how they did merch and how they, bought like direct to garment printers. And then it was like, okay, how do we ship it? So then they started paying for, fulfillment center stuff. And then it's like, okay, like at what point is it worth it to have the fulfillment done internally where we rent a warehouse? And like, yeah, okay, you want to rent a warehouse? You want to hire someone to manage the warehouse? Like this is a whole company. This is a company. This is a whole thing. Like this is full-time jobs, like it just starts, it starts getting insane.
It is.
I'm getting blasted by the sun right now.
No, it's just the heavens shining down when you're talking about merch.
Or maybe it's Michael with an 80-watt laser.
He just woke up.
Yeah.
He just woke up and he's blasting you with the laser beam.
He woke up earlier today than I thought he would have. I don't know if he went to bed early.
Well, one of these days, Matt and I will stay up until 3:00 in the morning. We'll interview him too. But we have some questions from our Discord that they would love to answer, or love for you to answer. And we're going to do that on the other side of our wormhole. So we're going to go through that wormhole. But first, what are we going to be asking you?
Tell me when we're going through the wormhole.
I'll let you know. Well,
you'll feel it.
Okay.
You will feel it. Yeah.
Okay.
You will. Yeah, exactly. You'll re-atomize on the other side. Baseweight wants to know your secret to keeping Chelsea around. He is getting married in a little over a month.
Flex glue.
No, you can't give it away now.
Yeah, don't answer yet. We'll scrub the flex glue.
Oh, definitely not flex glue.
Definitely not flex glue. Flex tape, though.
But he is getting married in about a month, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. Sounds like he's a little worried about.
He wants to keep his significant other around and
for the rest of his life. I think that's the point.
That's right.
Of getting married.
And so he's looking to you for guidance.
Yeah. So he wants some advice, some relationship advice from you on that. And also Jesse wants to know about getting any pressure or feelings or, snide remarks from friends and family for not using your degree in the way that perhaps they expected you to at this point in your life. So we're going to get to those questions on the other side of the wormhole. That wormhole exists at patreon.com/
I knew it. I knew that was coming. I see how it is.
There it is.
You tease people and then you force money out of them to get the answers. Well, the answers are very good and very interesting, and you should definitely pay these guys money to get them.
Thank you so much, William, for that endorsement.
There's no stronger endorsement, is there?
No, and we don't force anybody to do anything. Let's get that clear. We just, would like to persuade those interested in hearing more to join our community.
Yeah.
Have you tried threatening them?
There's an implied threat all the time. But we haven't had to. Thankfully, we haven't had to deliver on that threat yet.
Okay.
But like the members of the baby gang, we can't guarantee that the baby that they get won't hurt them if they stray from the path of righteousness.
Right.
That our organization has set them on.
It could be a choking hazard at the very least if they try to, like maybe the baby falls into like their cereal one morning, and they unbeknownst to them just start choking to death on the plastic baby. Anyway, we're going to go over to Patreon. Join us over there if you'd like. If not, that's okay. We hope you enjoyed listening to the great William Osman. Make sure that you subscribe to him, but only if you love great videos.
And we'll put a few in the description as well. Like any of the videos that we referenced on this, from making a carpet that shocks Michael Reeves to the egg drop videos and some of the others, like we'll put them all down there so you can go through that little playlist if you need that familiarity.
Yeah, it's so easy to endorse your videos because I cannot imagine sending anyone one of your videos and then being like, nah.
Yeah, no more of this guy.
Not interested in this. Like, what? Yeah. Are you alive? Because I think those are the qualifications for enjoying William Osman videos. All right, we're going over there. See you, Space Cowboys.
But now it's wormhole time now?
Yes. Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. There's more episode waiting for you, but to keep listening, sign up at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. You could hear the rest of our conversation as well as unlock the ad-free feed, get exclusive content, join the Idea Baby Gang, and more.